Hi, I'm Dan Aubuchon, and welcome back to The Joy of Tennis Teaching. I know that more than half my audience is international, but please bear with me because I'm going to use some statistics and talk about some initiatives that are occurring in the U.S. tennis market now. But I think my underlying message applies to tennis worldwide and applies to tennis teachers everywhere. So what I'm going to talk about today is the United States Tennis Association, the USTA, has set a goal of growing tennis in the United States to 35 million participants within the next 10 years. This will make tennis about 10% of the US population. And I think it's a very admirable goal, and I think it should be doable, except for one important fact. Last year, there were 4.8 million new tennis players, according to the surveys, but we lost 4.6 million players. At this rate, it'll take us 50 years to increase the tennis playing base by 10 million. It's not doable. And both the USTA and the tennis teaching groups recognize this problem, sort of. All three groups, the United States Tennis Association, the PTR, and the United States Professional Tennis Association, the USPTA, have all committed to this goal, and they all say that they realize one of the main things that has to happen for this goal is the standards of tennis teaching have to increase. And everybody's making a commitment to try to hire more coaches and increase the standards and increase the education of coaches. I don't believe this will be enough. I think that we have to change the paradigm of how we bring new people into the game. Tennis is a difficult sport to learn in some ways if you're trying to become an excellent player. There's so many skills that it takes to become a good tennis player, and most of us, I know I used to, we teach it that way. When we get a new player into the game, we try to teach them using the steps that it will take to make them an excellent player. Again, what if we could change that paradigm? What if the goal of every time you had a new student was to get them actually playing the game as quickly as possible? What if the goal wasn't to make their strokes perfect, but the goal was to get them to be able to go out and play a game of tennis with their friends? I thought about this idea a lot because I really have believed for many, many years that what killed the giant tennis boom of the 1970s was poor instruction, and I was a part of it. I know none of the people that I taught back when I was a kid in the 70s kept playing because the instruction that I gave them was so horrible. There's no way that they learned how to play tennis. There were big groups in public parks, and we had them doing shadow stroking and all kinds of nonsense. Some people in the 70s were just trying to cash in on the boom. A lot of good, committed tennis pros wanted to do it, but they were stuck in the paradigm of teaching the old way. That's why I enjoyed when I joined PBI, because Peter could set the standards that he wanted for our small private company. And I learned to love those standards. But I also learned in a resort environment how to teach people how to improve quickly. So I kept giving it a lot of thought, and a few years ago I came up with this idea for a program that I called 2LT, stands for Two Lesson Tennis. Not the most creative name maybe, but 2LT was a program that I spent a lot of time developing. And I actually sold the idea to the Coachella Valley Parks and Rec Department here. And they put it into one of their catalogs, and we were going to do a trial program, and I had high hopes for this program taking off. Unfortunately, COVID hit. And because of COVID, all the tennis got shut down. And by the time we were out of COVID, I had become committed to working with and coaching Scott Cameron in his goal to become a professional tennis player. And so my 2LT project got left by the wayside. Shortly after that, as most of you know, I started having severe health problems, and I thought all of my career in tennis was over until I was able to discover this concept of doing YouTube videos. So what is 2LT? Well, 2LT is a program where new beginning tennis players, people who've never played the game before, at the end of 2 lessons, they will be able to have a rally, serve, return, and keep score. They can play a game. Will their strokes be perfect? No, of course not. But they become students of the game, and hopefully they will become addicted to this game. There's just no way we should be losing 4.6 million people. Tennis is too great a sport. It's too sticky, to borrow a term from the business world. I've seen students who've gotten addicted to the game, but they'll only get addicted if you can get them over that initial hump of the difficulty in learning the game. If you can only get them to the state where they can play. Look at pickleball. Pickleball, there's no question, pickleball is growing at an amazing fast rate. And I don't think anybody will argue that one of the big reasons pickleball is growing so much at such a rapid rate is it's super easy to learn. At the end of, a friend of mine was going to become a certified pickleball instructor. He's a tennis pro, and he had never played pickleball, and they were into this clinic. And 30 minutes in, the instructor said, okay, let's play a game. And my friend was like, whoa, I'm gonna play a game? This is the first time I've ever held a paddle. Well, that's the whole point. In pickleball, you're gonna play within the first hour. So tennis is a little bit more challenging and more difficult, but at the end of the first lesson, you should be able to carry on a rally, basic ground stroke rally. At the end of the second lesson, you should be able to do a basic serve, return serve, and keep score, and understand how to play both singles and doubles. Next week, we'll go into more detail on each of the lessons, and I'll lay out what my vision was for the 2LT program. And I'm giving this to you free of charge. I hope somebody out there will have an entrepreneurial spirit and take 2LT to the heights that I originally envisioned for it. But I think for the sport of tennis, in order for us to reach the lofty goals of the USTA, we have to make tennis easier to learn. And we have to bring people in to how joyful the sport can be. So that's it for this week. Go out there and teach tennis and make it joyful for you and your students.